Today I have with me Ms. Cheryl Griffith, who is the Managing Director of the Business Continuity Management Services, Inc. Thank you so much for joining us, Cheryl.
Thank you for having me.
So just tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Well, I've worked in the offshore industry for over 20 years, and in 2017, um, I was made redundant, and I didn't want to go back into banking, but I was the BCP coordinator for my unit for over 15 years. So given all the disasters that were happening in the Caribbean at the time, I decided that my skill set would be more useful going forward. So that's why I formed the company. And so now I do consultancy in the area of business continuity management, where I help small businesses especially in getting their businesses ready for any disruptions that may come. I also do some training and some seminars for any businesses who are out there. I've done some work in the Caribbean as well, doing some training. So I'm really interested in helping businesses get ready for any disruptions that may come their way.
And I know that particularly you would have been focusing on natural disasters, but COVID-19 has come out of nowhere almost and disrupted the way how we do business here. It will be disruptive for a number of businesses who have been forced to close. So what would be your analysis of the challenges that they would face when everything opens back up?
Well, in business continuity, you have several plans built in, like you have a hurricane response plan, or you might have an evacuation plan. So your pandemic plan is really built out on your basic plan, and your pandemic plan really impacts the human resources aspect of it rather than like equipment or anything. So you should be focusing on the human element and absenteeism that will occur in the office and how you will go about continue your business without having that physical presence in a building, so to speak. So that's where you have seen now a lot of persons have moved to working from home, which comes with its own set of challenges that companies before would not have taken into consideration. And one example of that would be like most companies have desktops. So it's not a case now where you can pick up a laptop and go to work from home. So the challenge is that was that companies don't have that in place, and they're now asking their employees if they can use their home computers to work from home, which has a different type of risk because home computers might not be set up to have that robust security at the back end. So, well, they want to do that, they have to be cognizant that they're exposing their companies to financial risk and could be some reputational risk as well.
Well, and in terms of when the market opens back up, what challenges do you foresee outside of the working from home? Now we talked about the present. What challenges do you see for small businesses in particular in getting their business back up and running after COVID-19 has gone?
The challenge that I see is that small businesses have to think of the need that they have in the in the workplace, in the marketplace, and make sure that they are fulfilling that need to be back up and running. They have to also look at the looking back and lessons learned from this, what now they can put in place to make sure that it doesn't happen again. And this seems to be the new norm. And I don't think it's going to go away in a couple of weeks. I think this could be for a couple of months. So they have to make sure that they're looking to be more innovative, using a lot more technology. So start doing their due diligence and research on what they can do going forward.
And in terms of, we have COVID-19 here presently, but June is soon fast approaching, and that is the hurricane season as well, to where we see the majority of the disruption. So it's almost like going out of the frying pan and into the fire, and it's expected to be what was it that the forecaster said, higher than expected hurricane season. So coming out of COVID-19, going into the hurricane season, what can businesses really expect when it comes to disruption?
That's a good question, and one that I have been thinking about a lot recently as well too, because we can say that we hope it don't happen, but hope is not really a strategy. And so we have to make sure that we think about, because now we're asking persons to stay home and social distancing. If there is a disaster, what does that really mean for us in terms of, suppose you have to evacuate your home and go to a shelter, what does that mean? Um, what does that mean for volunteers if you are working? In terms of, do we now do online training for our volunteers? And for businesses, that is going to be a further setback. So I think businesses should now be thinking, how do I prepare for the hurricane season in the midst of COVID? And what can I do? I'm still thinking what that looks like. It's very fluid. So you have to keep assessing what is currently happening, and then what that can look like for you. So every company is different. So you have to assess your own needs and how you can go about putting things in place.
And for the small businesses who may not have thought about having a business continuity plan, or who may not have foreseen this, what would you say is the importance of starting a plan, or how do they go about making a business continuity plan?
It is not as hard as people think it is. It's just identifying, is a business plan, so to speak, and it's not an IT plan, or all the employees have to be involved. So you have to identify what are the critical functions that you as a company perform. And if there's a disruption, how are you able to mitigate those risks to your business? In terms of, and I used this example the other day, if you're a bank, the two critical functions that a bank has is deposits and withdrawals. And if you can't do either one, what happens? Remember last week when the banks were not doing deposits, it was chaos. So look at your critical functions. What happens if you can't perform them, and how you would go about making sure that you're still able to deliver to your customers what they need. So those are two things: looking at the vulnerabilities and risks for your business and how you go about mitigating it. Then creating strategies to combat those risks. For argument's sake, work from home strategy. So now you have to explore what is the best way of going about working from home. What do the things I need to do? And we talked about the desktop versus the laptop. Going forward, that's what you can have your employees do, as you upgrade your technology, and making sure that all employees are on board. Like if there's a disruption, who does what role do you play, and making sure that employees know what their roles are. Because oftentimes businesses put plans in place but don't inform the employees, and then when stuff happens, you expect the employee to get up and start running, and the employees have no clue what is going on. So you need to have that communication with the employees as well.
How do you see the business sector looking going forward as it relates to the new norms that this COVID-19 has thrown into the mix? And how do you see, because we often hear the term, it cannot be business as usual. So from a continuity perspective, how do you see businesses going forward now, post-COVID-19, post the hurricane season?
I think a lot of businesses are now going to be doing online meetings. They're going to see the need not to meet physically in a building, but they're going to be using technology a lot more and having their meetings online. And they're going to be looking at innovative ways of how they go about doing businesses. You would have seen recently a lot of companies now are doing the home deliveries, and that wasn't a thing before. So they're going to be looking at ways that they can improve their services and making sure that what happened now doesn't happen, that they're more prepared if something like this happens in the future.
Well, I want to thank you, Cheryl, for taking the time to talk to us about business continuity and what it means, especially for small businesses, and giving us a look at how COVID-19 has impacted businesses and what small businesses in particular can do to get themselves up and running after this pandemic is over. So I just want to thank you for agreeing to do the interview.
Thank you so much for having me.